So in 1959, the state of Alabama purchases a brand new 59 Cadillac Fleetwood limousine to be used by the governor of Alabama. So no less than 5 governors have used this Cadillac Fleetwood as their personal limousine, including Lurleen Wallace and her well-known husband, George Wallace. So I think this is one of the best stories I've ever heard. So in the 1960s, Albert Brewer was elected governor, and when he came into office, he decided that he was going to raise some money for the state of Alabama and cut some of the fat. So he goes to his state finance director and says, I want you to round up every car that we're not using, and I want you to take some of these department head cars away from them, and we're going to have us an auction. So the finance director rounds up 1,000 cars and announces an auction for the state of Alabama. Now the next day after this hit the news, the state finance director sitting in his office, and who walks in the front door? Well, it was none other than George Wallace's brother, Gerald Wallace. He came in the door furious. He wanted to know why the state of Alabama was selling that limousine when they should have just given it to him. Of course, the state finance director tells Gerald, we don't have any authority to just give away a car that the state of Alabama owns, and we didn't know he was interested in it anyway. And of course, Gerald says, well, you know how much that car meant to him since he and Lurleen both used it while they were in office. So Gerald storms out the door. Well, the finance director calls his assistant, explains to him what happened, and he said, what are we going to do? So his assistant says, I tell you what we're going to do. You and I are going to pool our money, and we're going to buy that car ourselves, and we're going to give it to George. So the two got together, and they pooled all their money, which was $1,200. A few weeks later, they had the auction. They had one of their friends, as a shield bidder out in the crowd, bid on their behalf. Now, what they didn't know, though, was another one of George Wallace's good friends. He was there to bid on the car himself. He wanted to give it to George. So bidding came on, and it just soared right past $1,200. Well, the car ended up bringing $2,200, and the finance director's guy bought it. Of course, him and his assistant had to go and try to raise the extra money to because all he had was $1,200 at the time. Well, that afternoon he goes back to his office and he picks the phone up and he calls George and says, George, I've got some great news for you. I think you're really going to get excited. And George says, well, what's that? And he said, well, we've got a gift for you. He said, you know that Cadillac limousine that you and Lurleen used to drive in? And he said, well, sure. And he said, we bought it for you and we would like to give it to you. And George says, I don't want that car. Who told you I wanted the car? Heck, the thing never did run right when I rode around in it. I don't want it. And of course, he was a little sick to his stomach. Then George says, I tell you what, just bring me the car. I'm not going to keep it, but I got a good friend of mine that's a car collector in Montgomery named Royce Kershaw. He's a car collector. I think he'd like to have it, and I'm going to give it to him. So I think George Wallace owned the car for less than a day, and he gave it to his good friend Royce Kershaw, which happens to be the same family that we're conducting an auction for. So if you like a car with a good story, and you really like a car with a lot of provenance, this Cadillac 59 limousine is up for auction, and it's selling to the highest bidder, along with about 40 other incredible collector cars and locomotives and other railroad assets, selling at auctionbypierce.com.